my name is Sheridan. Welcome back. Today, we are going to be talking about how to, I'm going to call it kind of hack your menstrual cycle so that you can feel more compassion, more acceptance, and more ease in your relationship to yourself, and also in the way that you show up in the world and express yourself in the world. I'm going to make this, I think, into a 4-part series so that you can choose the videos that apply to like where you are, where you're about to be. And I'm really excited. So let's get into it. Now, it's important as a woman or somebody who has a womb, somebody who menstruates, to learn how to work with these phases because, you know, hormonally, we're going through them every month. It's happening, whether we embrace it or we don't. And we might find that at certain times we have a heightened emotional experience, heightened anxiety, maybe heightened inner critic. Maybe we find an increased need for boundaries. Maybe we struggle with setting boundaries. Maybe we, you know, find ourselves judging ourselves. And I find that when we're not embracing this, it is really easy to fall into really harmful patterns in your inner world and even in your outer world and even in your relationships. It's actually more common than not to not embrace this. So a lot of our society is set up in a way that it asks women and men to show up consistently in the same way every day of the year. It's linear. So it's like we work 9 to 5, we work Monday to Friday, we do this all the time. And there's a kind of an expectation to have a similar output, to have the same output or same skill set or same strengths or same interaction in relationship to be predictable. And there's also a overall kind of in society, there's this like, we kind of want to push the feminine away. Now we can use, when I'm talking about feminine and masculine, you can interchange them and you can use the words yin and yang, whatever feels more applicable for you or more kind of like in alignment for you, whatever feels better. Sometimes when we talk about feminine and masculine, if we've associated those, because they're energies, I'm not talking about the gender or the sex, I'm talking about the energy of feminine and masculine. So feminine is more like the yin and masculine is more of like a yang. It's more doing, it's more fixing, it's more action, it's more penetrative moving forward. And the yin, feminine, is more receptive, more inner, it's a little bit more flowy, it's a little bit more about blossoming and change, and it's cyclical. So feminine is the cycles, we work in cycles that nature, Mother Nature works in cycles. So does our body, right? We have our menstrual phases. There are seasons. There are seasons of life, and there's also a menstrual phase. There are seasons of Mother Nature, and Mother Nature in her own way does also have a little bit of a menstrual phase, right? We notice that maybe in fall or like in autumn, the leaves fall off the tree, or in summer, maybe or spring, there's more flowers, everything's blossoming. In winter, things feel kind of dead, like there's not really much happening, it's very still. Our bodies have the same natural tendencies. And a lot of the time, we experience things like PMS, maybe migraines, maybe you even have like ovulation pain. I forget the name for it, but that kind of, there's a little bit of pain when your egg drops down for ovulation. And instead of maybe trying to change them or seeing them as an inconvenience or trying to push it away, what we can do is just begin to learn about what this means, and then apply the strengths of each phase, and understand maybe the challenges of each phase. And that way we get to kind of flow through life, and we get to have a more loving and compassionate and just easeful relationship with ourselves, which then, you know, when we fill our cup, it overflows and it leaks into our relationships, it leaks into our work, it leaks into our community, and it creates a really lovely environment for everyone. Let's start with the follicular phase. The follicular phase is that period of time where you're just coming out of bleeding. So you've just menstruated, you're just got off your period. It kind of feels like this merging of energy. It's like spring. It's kind of like a time where everything is like kind of getting ready to be more in action. So maybe you feel like a natural like energy burst, and maybe you're going to feel this to different extents. So as I say, everything, if that doesn't feel true for you, that's okay. Doesn't mean that there's like anything wrong with you or anything. And the opposite could also be true for you, depending on so many factors. What's your diet like? What's your nervous system like? What's your thoughts like? What's your mental health like? What's your level of activity like? What's going on for you? What's going on in your life at that time? So take everything that I say with a bit of a grain of salt. So usually when we're in the follicular phase, it's more dynamic. We're getting ready for action. We're planning, we're concentrating. Maybe we're looking and we're feeling capable of working in teams. Maybe we're feeling a little bit more confident. Like we're kind of like waking up. There is this natural urge that can come out. We want to try new things. So if we have a life set up where maybe it doesn't feel applicable, or we don't feel like we can try new things or make changes or be creative or plan much, it's really natural to, if we feel like there's something kind of like limiting that natural urge that we have to be expansive, to be new, to be creative, to go out, to emerge. If it's something limiting, then it's natural for us to feel things like anxiety, sadness, frustration. Everyone tends to like move towards different places. Some people tend to anxiety more. Some people tend to anger more. Some people tend to get kind of lethargic and weighed down, just kind of feel like really sad and like, ugh. So if your urge is not being nourished and you don't have an outlet for that, you're going to start feeling one of these emotions. And depending on how you relate to that emotion, you might find yourself thinking, maybe you find like you're critical of other people or yourself. Maybe you feel stuck. Maybe because this phase is also really working on like moving towards action, it's kind of more about like fixing things. You may find yourself wanting to like skip over your emotions or other people's emotions by like logically kind of saying, oh, like it'll be okay. You know, don't worry about it. It's really about coming into, so when we're talking about it in relation to ourselves, right? We might find ourselves wanting to change. So this is a really good time to move towards that change and find a way to express that impulse. Maybe it's listening to new music as you make your coffee in the morning. Maybe it is like changing your job. Maybe you're quitting your job. Find a way to move with that impulse. This can feel like a really dynamic and beautiful time. And it probably lasts about a week before we move into the ovulation phase. Some other challenges that can come in this phase is if you find yourself feeling maybe inactive, you might feel this urge to be more active. And depending on the different parts of you, right? We all have different like parts or thoughts that can come in. Maybe you're critical of being active. Maybe you're of your desire to be active. Maybe you're comparing yourself when you are active, whether that means physically active, or maybe you're starting a new project or something. Maybe you're comparing yourself to how you did it or how she did it or how he did it or how they've done it. There can be a lot of comparison come up. We can also feel really insecure about new beginnings. Sometimes new beginnings can mean uncertainty and fear can come up. So if you're feeling fearful, and if you have fears around new beginning, those fears are going to come up at these times. Maybe you want to express something, but another part of you feels like you can't, or maybe it's unsafe, or like it's going to have like a bad, like there's going to be a bad result of you expressing yourself or making a change. All of those fears or concerns might come up, and you might experience them in thoughts, anxiety, heavy emotions. aches and pains in your body, feeling restless, super, super natural. All of this leads up, and these are kind of the seeds that we plant when we actually come into ovulation. So we're going to talk about ovulation in the next video.